Hello, and thank you for tuning in to today's channeling session. Today, what was inspired for us to talk about is actually kind of a hot topic right now, and something that a lot of us are really kind of confused or concerned about, and that is the division amongst the alternative or spiritual community. And so we don't know what's going to come through, of course, but that's the general inspiration that we were given. So hopefully we'll be given some insights and some understanding into what might be going on. And I just wanted to say really quickly that if you want to know more about how Dianne gets her information, please see our video entitled How Dianne Gets Her Information. And then also just remember that all channeling is limited to the life experience and the vocabulary and the lens of the channel, and in that way channeling is really beautiful, but it also they do have to use the experience and the language and the understanding that the channel has. So always take what resonates with you and leave the rest. And we thank you, and we hope that this is very interesting. So Dianne, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thanks, Heather. And I'm just going to add to that and say yes, that they, again, this is a subject that they feel is important right now. And again, as we always say, either the subject that they want to talk about, that they give us, is either important at the time or will be important in the future. That is something that might help people, further down the road. So I think, as Heather said, this is a subject that seems to be in the forefront right now. And they just came through and said that there was some information they'd like to put out there to try to make people understand a little more about the background of what's going on and from their perspective as to how they see this. So I just want to add that, and I'll go ahead and see what they have to say. Thank you. Hello everyone, we welcome you. We say thank you for being with us today. And we would like to talk about the subject that they speak of. There is, what we see from our perspective, there is what you might say a divide, a division, a separation, a gap. There are many words that can be used for this. But it's just, as we see it, it's when people just don't see eye to eye. People are viewing the same subject and seeing it in a different light, in a different way. So, the word division is interesting also because it does put a divide between people, but not as much as people might think. It's just taking the same exact subject that both are looking at, but just are looking at it from different angles, coming into the subject from different ways, so to speak, from coming in from maybe the left and coming in from the right. And that doesn't mean politically, but that just means different angles of seeing the same issue. So we'd like to explain that a little bit and talk about that. So we very much are aware of the what you call the alternative community, the spiritual community, the woke community. There are many words, again, much verbiage that is used to describe the people who have come to the planet. We're going to get into the depth of that too. But the people who have come to the planet in this lifetime with the knowledge, the soul level knowledge that they are going to experience this. They're going to be part of the team, so to speak, that is going to be experiencing and enjoying, and which is a big part of this, is to enjoy what is actually happening on your planet in these times. Very, very important. And it's hard to even understand the hugeness, as we spoke of before. We've spoken of this before, of how big this is, how vast this is, how unprecedented this is, of the events that are happening on your planet right now. things are changing, things are moving, things are growing, things are at an enormous rate, a very huge speed of time, that all this is happening very quickly. So when we say what's happening is, again, it's the planet moving into another place, a higher frequency, and the people are moving and changing with the planet. That's just one aspect of it. So of course, when that's happening, there's so many levels to this and so much underneath this that has to happen along with that. So as we have spoken of before, with the earth changes happening, there is much things that are happening on the surface of the planet that are being exposed and that are being brought to the surface. So we look at this and we call it a purging. There's negativity on the planet that has been there for eons of time. A control of the negative that has been with the planet and part of the planet. And at this point in time of, even when you want to say creation of the planet, is a very unique time, because that control of the negative is changing into control by the positive. The light, changing from dark to light, as is a much spoken term, but it's a very, very good term to use for what is happening. So we want to make it very clear that this is a very positive situation and a very positive change that's happening. But even though going from dark to light, going from negative to positive, there's going to be much that has to happen to get through the process, to get through to the light, to get through to the good. So it's as we say, and we use the term, it could be a bumpy ride along the way. But all of those who are on the planet at this time that are of a higher knowledge, so to speak, of a more understanding from a higher level of what is really going on. And there are many people that, again, we speak of different levels of people, and some have been aware of this for a long time, others are just learning and growing and understanding, and that's fine. So it's a growth of this information. It's growing and it's expanding. And the more that this happens, the more diversity on the subject that you're going to find also. But we talk about the purging of the planet. So as we spoke of before too, but some might not have heard this before, so what we want to do is reiterate what we spoke of. And that is, when you're changing the planet and the people from negative to positive, from dark to light, you're going to go through a process. And this process is purging. It's purging up all the negativity. The planet itself is a living, growing, beautiful being in its own right. And it also is going through its own purging and repositioning and re-enlightenment. So as all this negativity that has been on the surface and deep within the planet over eons of time, it is time. There's changes happening. The vibration of the planet is raising. The frequency of the planet is raising. And to get to the place it needs to be, it needs to purge this negativity. So it needs to just actually, what we want to use the term regurgitate all the negative. So everything is coming to the surface at the same time. And as this seems like a negative aspect to the human life and human beings and the planet, it really is a positive one. When you think of your own body, when you think of your body and you think of ingesting something that your body just rejects, your body is not used to it, there's something wrong with what you just put into your body, whether you abuse your body with overuse of alcohol, whether you put some poisonous food in your body's going to react. Your body's going to say, this is not to my best, this is not to my highest self, this is not for my best ability. So your body knows it has to reject that, it has to get rid of that, it has to purge that out. So the body itself goes through the process of purging, of vomiting, of purging out the negative, purging out the poison or whatever it may be that is affecting the body negatively. And the process of that is very difficult. Nobody on your planet enjoys that process of purging. of vomiting, but it's a natural function for the body to expose of the negative. And that's what we like to give the analogy of what's happening with the planet. The planet is purging. And although at the time it seems really like a negative effect, it's actually a negative effect that turns into the positive, that is created for the positive, for getting rid of the negative and moving into the positive. So once you as a human regurgitate all that negativity in your own body, afterwards it's a wonderful feeling. It's a lighter feeling. It's a feeling of peace. It's a feeling of getting that out of your system, and you feel very good after that happens. Well, this is what's happening with the planet. So we just want to explain again that this is what's happening with the planet, and you're literally in the planet purging and getting rid of all the negativity. This can be created in many different ways. This can be weather related, more volcanoes, more earthquakes, more floods. Again, as we said before, everything is always the worst of. It is the worst flood. It is the worst weather. It is the worst of everything. But that's because the way the planet is purging, is getting rid of, is changing, is moving. So we have to, on the planet, they're showing me now, as the planet is moving, they're showing me a picture of the planet moving to a higher frequency, a higher level. These things are going to be affected. The planet is going to be affected, but it's more of a purging than for a positive reason rather than a negative reason. That being said, we want to talk about more of the individuals, of the people on the planet, and how this is affecting, how these changes are affecting the frequency and the vibration of the people on the planet. So when you have the same subject and you have different individuals, and also these individuals create groups. You have individual people that feel that they are better in numbers, that they feel safer, they feel more secure if they have a group of them, a group of people that understand the subject, the same subject, but in a different way. So groups are forming, little groups everywhere are forming of people that think one way or that think another way, but it's all on the same subject, the same idea. It's just different brain waves, different ways of thinking about the same subject. So we just want to explain what that is and how. Right now, again, I want to explain. They're showing me a subject. There's a subject in the middle, and all these lines are coming out of the subject to these different groups of how they feel about it and what they're promoting and what they speak of and what they put out there. And again, with the internet and different varieties of ways of getting the information out, there's much more information that everybody can get. So everybody wants to put their information out of what their belief system is, and that's fine. That we look at that as being a very positive thing because it gives the people much to think about. It gives the people different ideas that they can tap into, and if they resonate with it, wonderful. If they don't, they'll move on to the next group and their idea. But that also can cause dissension. That also can cause arguments and fights, so to speak, amongst the different groups, even though they all understand it's coming from the same subject, the same idea that's in the middle. Then you have different ideas of different groups that say, no, it's this way, no, it's this way. So it is really just a matter now, and what we want to say is, even though this is happening, and it's a positive thing because you have different people giving different ideas, and it's opening up the door to many different thought processes, which is a good thing because it's making people think, whether they're thinking with this group or whether they're thinking with that group. It really is at least creating thought, creating like a wavelength. They're showing me like when you throw a rock into a pond and it creates all the waves that go out from that rock. That's what it's creating. It's creating those waves that go out and reach everybody. So that's a positive thing. But we also want to say it's also purging. So as this is happening, there's going to be a lot of purging being done, and there's going to be a lot of negativity that is going to also be coming out. And some of these groups, are that is their role to play, is to bring out the negativity and it's part of the purging. Again, it's part of the purging process. So what we want to say with that is now it's time. We want everybody to understand that it's time to go within. There are going to be many different groups with many different ideas, and that's very good to have different opinions and different ideas. But with all those different ideas being out there, now it's time for the individual to go within. It's time to go within and understand you, understand what you are made of, and understand where you stand in all these subjects. So with so much information out there, we want people to start, and we think it's important now with all the purging and everything coming to the surface, it's time to start working on self and looking at all these different things and either resonating or not. But this is being given. This is being given to learn discernsion. You have to discern. You have to be understanding what you believe in and why you believe in it, and start trying to go inward and figure this out. You will always have information coming from all different levels and all different places. And again, that's fine. But it is up to you now as individuals to say, well, I'm hearing this and I'm hearing that and I'm reading this and I'm getting this from the news. And now it's time to really go inward and start trying to figure out what your beliefs are, what you at a soul level really understand, and what you're here for, what you're here to do, what you're here to learn, and what you're here to help others with. So this is what we want to have come across. Is it's important to have groups, and it's important to have support, and it's important to get all that information out. But it's also very important to be an individual. You know, you are here as an individual. You are here. You came here in this lifetime to understand what you are here for. And so it's also important to, as an individual, dig deep into a soul level and understand what that is also, because you are a unique, wonderful, light being individual. And this is where you have to tap into. This is what you have to tap into to understand more and learn more about what is around you and what you are doing and what your purpose is.
Mm-hmm. I have an idea or a perspective, and I'm just curious what you think about this. So as you were talking and sharing this, what came to me was the fact that, as history has been sort of changed and hidden, and, basically a lot of the things about our planet, it hasn't been published or freely given, and so many of us in the alternative or the spiritual community have had to be detectives, right? And really piece all of this information about what's really happening and what our true history is and what the true nature of source or spirituality and all of these things are. And so I feel like we've been putting this all together like a puzzle. And then you add to that the fact that we are starseeds who came from all over the universe, and we have different cultures and perspectives on a soul level. We may not be conscious of this, but we have different personality traits and cultural ways of being because we're from other places. And so really, this is this giant melting pot of all of this different planetary and cosmic history, and we're sort of blending and merging and piecing this together. So what I really heard was that part of that process is sort of weeding and whittling that down to, we have this big beautiful pot of all of these wonderful ideas and perspectives and possibilities. Since we are still, really digging and trying to uncover all of the history, the true history. And with that, comes this giant, perplexing sort of situation to, really discerning what is true and also taking into consideration that truth is an interesting idea, because what's true for you and what's true for me, with my background and my expertise and my experiences, what's true for me is going to be worlds different than what's true for someone living in Egypt with different life experiences or culture, just all different things. And so I feel like as part of the spiritual and the alternative community, if we're able to look at it this way and keep all of this in mind, that really we are sort of explorers putting history back together, putting the story back together, and it's sort of like a collective mural, because this is something that we're doing as a collective. So anyways, that's just what was coming to me as you were talking, and I don't know if that is helpful or not, but yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you look at it that way. Yes, we want to talk about the Starseeds. We talk about the alternative spiritual community. It is growing, but you have to understand too that those that have come here, that came here for the purpose of holding space for the new world, so to speak, if you want to call it that, the moving into the fifth dimension, moving with the planet, the Starseeds, the beings here from gosh, there's faraway galaxies, from faraway places, that got the opportunity to be here at this time on this planet, is overwhelmingly amazing. It's an amazing time. And there are many who wanted to be here. There are many who want to be here to be able to experience this. But those that are here for, for many reasons. And as you say, there are beings here from many different places. And melting pot is a very good term for you to use on your planet. It is a melting pot of many different beings from many different places that came here to experience Earth and came here to experience the school of hard knocks, we want to say, because Earth is a very difficult place because it has so many emotions and so many different things you have to learn here, and you learn them so quickly, and so it's a very difficult place to be at times. But those that are here now are here to be part of this, and we can't stress that enough, are here to do their part. And that's why, too, you're going to have people that come, and beings and spiritual beings that come from different places, with different ideas, with different thought processes. Mm-hmm. And you put that all together, and you've got a wonderful mix of beings. And we want to honor that. We want to honor all the differences, rather than, again, looking at it as a negative thing, and this group believes that or that group believes that. That's fine. That's what I want to say. That's the small stuff. What the amazing part is all these awake, and we that term we use loosely, but all the awake beings that are here and understand this, and you call the alternative community, the spiritual community. It is a community of all different beings from all different amazing places that have come here and chosen to be here and be part of this. And it's going to take some working out. It's going to take, it's new. It's something new and different with these changes happening. So everybody, individually and in their groups, are just trying to work this out themselves. They're trying to figure it all out. And as you talk about history, history is changing. Everything is changing. So it's very difficult on a third dimensional level to grasp this and understand this and take this in and work with it and be living it. But those that are doing this are also coming from a very highly spiritual environment, that at a soul level they understand so much more. So it's very interesting, but yet very positive to see all the different opinions, and it's very third dimensional to hold yourself down to a certain way of being or a certain way of thinking. It's so much more expansive than that. It's so much more expansive. So we just say that maybe the best way to handle the situation is to be able to expand your mind, expand your thinking, look at all the information that is coming from all different angles, and again, take it within, and just what you resonate with is what you need to be doing at this time, and somebody else may resonate with something else, and that's what they need to do at this time. But it's an individual process, and everybody's going through their own process right now. But it's almost like all these different ideas are showing me now that all these different ideas and all these different he said and she said and he's right and I'm right, is all being thrown into a big pot. It's like all just being thrown into this big pot and mixed together and mixing it up. So, you have choices. You have choices of what you want to pull out of that pot and look at. And that's a personal thing. That's very personal. So we're just trying to show how the inner fighting, the disconnect between some groups are happening, because everybody's doing their own inner work, and everybody needs to do their own inner work to come to their own conclusions from where they come from, what they're here to do, and what they're here to show. Mm-hmm. And we also want to say that not everybody is wrong and not everybody is right. There's going to be a mix. There's going to definitely be a mix of opinions. And if the individuals can actually just stop and say, this needs to be looked at more carefully. There's a discrepancy. You can even have an individualness with a friend. There's a discrepancy between us. Let's look at this. Let's look at what our discrepancy is. We're both talking about the same thing, but again, coming at it from different angles. So let's look at what angles we're coming from and why, and what our belief system is, and sharing why that is, and going a little deeper with it, rather than just surface of like we disagree and that's the end of it. Let's look at why we disagree, what we're disagreeing on. It may open up a whole new world also for people too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something that just came to me while you were speaking again is that what's really unique about this community, the alternative community or the spiritual community, whatever you choose to call it, is that because of the awakening, we have beings in an infinite number of levels of awakening. We have people that are just barely sort of waking up to the idea that things aren't quite what they seemed they were, and then we have people who are awake to some very, very, very advanced levels of what exactly is going on here. And so, I feel like being patient and understanding of that too is all of the different levels of where people are at. Even for myself, a year ago, I wasn't even quite ready for the ET phenomenon. It was a really hard concept for me to wrap my mind around. And then I find out that I am one. And so if you were talking to Heather a year ago, where I was at in the whole alternative spiritual community belief system was a totally different place than where I'm at now. So being gentle, I think, with ourselves and with each other, and just keeping that in mind, that we are all rapidly changing at like warp speed right now. I know I am personally daily. The changes that I see within myself daily, I'm a different person than I was a week ago, because it's happening so fast. And so, so something that we might have blown up over in some heated debate a week ago, this week we're kind of going, oh yeah, well now that resonates with me. So I think that that's important to keep in mind too, is that we live in an infinite universe where there's an infinite amount of possibilities, and we're working through those slowly but surely, one by one, and having to navigate those together as all in different places in this journey together. So
very, very true, very true. And there's again, with all the changes and the purging and all the things going on and off the planet, it's on a third dimensional world, again, on third dimensional bodies, it is difficult. It is a difficult thing. And again, it's not been really gone through before, so this is something that everybody is, if you can look at the bigger picture, the much bigger picture, and realize what is happening and how amazing it is, and the changes that are coming, and the wonderful lightness of being that is going to happen, it makes the petty arguments rather insignificant and rather wow. As you say, next week that might not even matter. We're on to something else now. But it is a form of growing and learning, so it's necessary. But when you see the bigger picture and realize that it really, in the larger scheme of things, this planetary scheme of things, this cosmic scheme of things, it's really very, very small. And but yet we don't want to discard it, because debate is always good. Debate is always good, as long as it's kept civil, as long as it's kept with understanding of each other, of their opinion, and it might not agree with your opinion, but as long as you can all give your opinion and listen to each other, it really will help raise, again, the vibration of the planet and help everybody ease through this process much better, rather than taking the little things and fighting over the little things. If you look at the bigger picture, it's really not going to be that important when you're looking at the much bigger picture.
A little bit of a 3D human trap, I would almost dare to say.
It's exactly.
Distracting
Again, yes.
us from the real meat and potatoes of the thing, which
That's
is,
right.
Which is, we've got a lot of stuff to sort out together here.
That's right.
In a loving way, in a respectful way.
That's correct. That's correct.
Hopefully, because that's the energy that we're moving into. We gotta figure out how to do this, because it's time.
and also moving from the dark to the light. I mean, eons of time of being captured, being a prisoner almost of the dark that people were not even aware of. As people start changing and the planet starts moving into a lighter existence of being, into a more positive existence of being, there's going to be many changes that are going to happen. And for humans to be able to move with that and to grow with that and to lighten up this heavy energy, to lighten up the energy and make it a more positive, lighter energy, that's a process. But we want to say you're right in the thick of that right now. You're right in the thick of that process. And so it's going to bring up all kinds of emotions and all kinds of feelings and all kinds of arguments. It's just going to happen because it's, again, purging. It's purging all the information and all the negativity and all the darkness is all just coming out. So everything's coming out. So again, we also want to say too that we, you're learning lessons from each other. So those that you don't agree with, that have this opinion and this idea, you're not going to agree with, but it's going to bring it all up to the surface. And again, then for you to decide what makes sense and what feels right to you. So it is really moving. The planet is moving into a place that is going to be an important thing to be able to do, discernment. It's going to be important to be able to rely on your own abilities, your own light being body, to be able to individually know what is right and to resonate with it. So this is we don't want to say a test, but it's almost like a practice. It's like a practice. It's like this is the right now in this time. It's like a practice session of what is to come, of what has to be done. And as you get through this turmoil and this turbulence, you're going to be able to be so much more better at discerning and learning and growing with your own belief and your own inner light. That it's important to do that now. It's important to test that out and to try that out and see how that feels and see how it fits. And again, this purging and all these negativity things are coming up, it will lighten up. It will start lightening up, and people will start slowly realizing that, oh, you know what, just as you said, that, oh, that really doesn't matter anymore. That really is not affecting me. That really is not triggering me. I'm moving on. I'm moving above that. And that's going to slowly start happening, where people are going to say, well, I don't know why that bothered me so much. That's really not that important to me anymore. That's growing. That's learning. That's opening up. That's going inward. So all those things are important. And we just want to explain what is happening and why, and maybe what can be done to lighten the load, so to speak, a little bit amongst those that are in the thick of it right now. We have to say we always want to say we honor those that are fighting the good fight, that are really in it and are really working and are really trying to do the very best they can. Having the knowledge that the alternative community has, and we want to say to anybody who's even listening to this or even tapped into this a little bit, is part of that group. They're curious enough to just listen, to start looking for different alternative ideas. That's expansive. And whatever your level you're at, if you just happen to glance at something that is alternative, you're getting there. You're at a level now where, oh, this is starting to be interesting to me. And that is happening more and more and more. So the more that happens, the more purging will be done, the more individual work will be done, but it's a start, and it's very, very good, and we honor that. We honor those that are seeking beyond the third dimensional world now. We honor that is being looked at. It's important. We want to say how important that is. And again, spreading the information is really important, because you just might plant a seed in someone who is just waiting, knowing that, as you say, something isn't right, something doesn't feel right, something's not right with what we're being told. If you can just plant that seed, it's going to be up to them to grow that seed if they choose to. So it's important. All the information that is out there is very important in many different levels and different groups, but it's time to start, taking that inward, because that's where we're going. They're showing me again the planet moving to that level of honoring thyself. If that makes sense.
It does. And I can't help but wonder if, during this amazing time, if being a little bit careful about attachment to certain things would be a really good idea. Because I feel in a way that we're all kind of archaeologists unearthing the truth about the nature of our reality and the nature of who we are. And so, like on an archaeological dig, each day you're digging up new things. And so, I feel like as we do this, I feel like being very careful about attachment to ideas is going to be helpful and help us to grow quicker, because we lost my train of thought there for a second. We, as we're growing and changing, I feel like our human 3D instincts are to kind of grab onto that security blanket and sort of hang on to the only thing that's familiar with, like, white knuckles, because it feels safe there. But I feel like with everything happening, like there is just no place for that right now, because we it's like I said earlier, everything is changing absolutely daily, and every single day we're bringing up new lost knowledge and information, and even connecting with beings outside of our reality to help us with that too. They're helping us to bring in truth and information. So so I almost would dare to say that being really, really careful about being too attached to one particular idea or ideology would help the process, because you might miss something really big, something that is really, really good for you. And I only say this because of my own experience through this awakening. I had been very attached to certain ideas, and I recognize now, as I was just trying to hold on to what was left of my human in the 3D there, because that's what feels comfortable, is to kind of attach ourselves to some of these old ideas. So, yeah.
And interesting, as you talk about archaeologists and digging for the truth, and that is a very good analogy. And we also want to use the analogy of pioneers, those that are awake, those that are, and again, the term awake, those that don't understand what that is, but those that are of the alternative community, of the spiritual community, that understand more at a deeper level of what is going on and what is happening, and exploring as an archaeologists would explore and dig and learn more, and oh my gosh, I found this, now what does that lead to? That's very important. But also pioneers, the people in the alternative community are pioneers, and we can't even give you how important that is, how important it is to be the pioneers on your planet, to be able to take what you're learning, as much as there may be division and disparity between ideas, you are still working together. It's very important. You're all working together, and that's what we're trying to show you, is it's a bigger picture. You're still all working together towards the same goal, and you're pioneers in your field. You're archaeologists, and you're digging, and you're pioneers because you're ahead of the game, so to speak. You're ahead of what is to come, and you're the leaders, and you have responsibility in that way, because that's what you came here for. You came here to learn, to grow, and also to share and basically lead and show the right way. So if you can look at the bigger picture again and see, the pettiness of the bickering and the things that, it's important, because it is bringing up information and purging things that need to come out. So the truth can really be seen is very important. But also the bigger picture is you're pioneers. You're all here from somewhere else working this together, and you really are one. And so it is very important to look at it that way also, from the bigger picture, and know. And again, we honor that so much when we see people in your world that are out there and putting themselves out there, and putting themselves even in danger in some instances, but feel that that's what they need to do. And that's what a real pioneer is. A real pioneer is one who ventures out no matter what the danger, no matter what the consequences, and just does what they know they need to do for the future. And that's what many of you are doing right now, and we just honor that.
Yes, I agree. That's very good. And I just had one more little thought. As we're going through this, and many of us are spiritual teachers, and I feel like it's important to be okay. I see this a little bit, and so I thought it might be noteworthy. Is as what we learn changes, I feel like sometimes spiritual teachers get really stuck on, well, I already was teaching a certain way, or I already believed this thing, and the ego doesn't allow them to admit that has changed or morphed a little bit as they have continued to grow. And so, my personal recommendation for whatever it is worth, is to just be okay with sharing honestly, like, gosh, I really thought that this was the way things were, but my ideas have changed now, and this is now what I have come to believe, and it may change again as I unearth even more. So I think that's important to help us to not have this division, and to be able to let go of some of these things that are, maybe even holding us back a little.
Very good. Very true. Very true. Yes, the 3D world, again, can be very stagnating, very, very controlling, very, keeping you down. And again, the alternative community sees through that and can reach beyond that. And again, we use the term pioneers, but being the pioneers, it's a responsibility. They came here with a responsibility, and it's time they start utilizing that correctly and going in the right direction. And there are shifts happening. There are many, many shifts happening. There are many solar flares coming in. There's many, we want to say, like, electromagnetic information coming from everywhere. And so it's time to open up to that and to be able to adjust and change with the times, because times are going to move quickly, even more quickly than before. So we just want to prepare those pioneers to be able to adjust, as exactly you say, to adjust and to regroup and to reform and to learn and to grow and to just keep moving in the positive direction. Keep taking everybody forward. Be the leaders that you are and take everybody forward in the right direction. And, think more about maybe not worrying so much about this little argument or that little argument, or I believe this, and looking at a bigger picture and saying we are all in this together. We're all here for the same reason. We may have different ideas and different thought processes, but in the long run, we all want to do the same thing and move in the same direction. So let's get together and be the pioneers that we are and make that happen.
Yeah, because I think a real 5D mindset is love and respect for other people. So,
Correct.
yeah. Do you think we're complete, or is there any more information to bring through?
I think that's all we want to say for now. We just want that to be a thought and to put it out there to just think about. And hopefully the one who speaks brought through the information in a way that is understandable of what we're saying and bringing through. So we just want to thank you again for listening and for opening up to any new information, and to keep working, to keep doing what you came here to do. It's a great time. It's a wonderful time on your planet. Enjoy it. Make sure you take the time to enjoy it, even though it seems so much turmoil right now and so much unrest. And it is happening for a good reason. It is happening because this needs to happen to get through to the wonderful place that the planet will be and the people will be with it. So we want you to just keep doing what you're doing. Keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up on your values and your morals and what you know is right inside. And that's why we say go inside and look what that is and keep doing your work. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, that's it for today's channeling session. I hope you guys got as much out of this as I did. And and then if you like our content and you want to be notified when we do these sessions, please hit the subscribe button and maybe even give us a little like. And if you hit the little bell icon, then you'll actually get like a some sort of a notification on your phone or your computer when we post things. So, all right, you guys, thank you.